Hey everyone, this is Jesse from Janjo, and I just want to talk about this brand new Nintendo 64 controller I just got and just came out. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, I am an avid Nintendo 64 fan, especially the controllers, because I've made videos about that, and I do plan on making another episode about the weird ones in the future. But here we got the Retrobit 64, the Tribute 64 that is. Now, it may look kind of familiar. Well, this is Horipad Mini, and yeah, it's almost one-for-one kind of deal. Now, Horipad Mini came out in Japan, and it's pretty hard to find. They didn't make much of it. You know, the regular 64 controller is kind of weird, so a lot of people will want to go ahead and try and fix it. Now, we've got many different things like, well, the Horipad Mini, which I've talked about in my annotation adventure video. Now, obviously, annotations aren't a thing on YouTube anymore, so I'll splice my review sections within this video, and I'll probably post the whole thing maybe on my Patreon exclusive stuff, so check that out for the future. And so I'm gonna crack this open, take a look at it, see how it plays, and especially how it compares to the Horipad Mini. So this came in a bunch of different colors. It came in the super awesome clear blue. Also came in a forest green and a red color. Now I wanted to go with the spiciest one of all, the glacier blue, whatever you want to call that color. Now this one, I've never had a 64 controller of that magnitude. While I'm trying to get the soap in, they actually released two different versions of this, one for 64 and one with USB for computers. This one will be the 64 version because, well, that's what I have. And it makes sense just to get it for a 64, right? So as you can see, it has a very long cord right here. I'm very excited. Probably reach my 64 over there. Now, normally I have an extension cable. But this feels very long, though. I don't think I'll even need an extension cord for this. You know, bass feeling this, it feels very nice. The L and R buttons feel very smooth. Now, for those who don't know, that the Horipad Mini actually has two trigger buttons. That's the Z buttons. There's two of them, and these definitely feel very smooth too. Very nice with your fingers holding down on them. Everything feels very smooth. I'm very excited to use this. It feels very nicely made. I like the see-through of it. Now, just comparing it to the Horipad Mini right now, feels a bit looser. Now, I'm obviously got this used, so that has some things to deal with it, but the shoulder buttons definitely feel different. These feel a lot softer than the Horipad Mini. These feel a lot more clicky. Buttons seem about the same. D-pad looks a little bit smaller on the Horipad Mini, and it's definitely bigger on the Retrobit, which I'm very excited for because games like Mischief Makers and Pokemon Stadium and games that require the D-pad didn't really work very well on the HORI, which I'm sure I will mention or insert a clip about mentioning that. Oh, when you move, like I don't have big fingers. I have like fucking bony ass pretzel hands. I don't know what that means, but so that makes it makes it hard when you're trying to move and your A button's like right there, so it's like you gotta be very close, very close. Just feeling it, it feels definitely nicer quality than the Horipad Mini. Horipad looks like it's slightly smaller. It just sounds better. So let's just start playing some games with this thing and just see how it works. So first game we'll be playing is Wave Race 64. Fantastic game, absolutely love it. I was playing it actually literally last week, and man, it's so good. Perfect for the blue controller. So already, like, I'm just moving up and down with the control stick, and it feels very, very smooth. The D-pad feels a lot better. It's a lot more responsive. I feel like I have room with the A and B buttons, and that's great. Not like I need it for this game, but, and you know, if you want to have more accurate movement stuff with the D-pad, I can see using this a lot more than I will use the Horipad Mini, I can tell you that much. So just moving left and right, as you can see, I can move this very easily with this. Oh, turning in this game is kind of tough in itself, but I feel like I have very solid controls with this. I'm very surprised how well this is. Honestly, I was expecting it to just be kind of like a HORI Mini 2.0. Like, I might actually, and this is a big one, I might actually prefer this over the Retro Fighters controller. I am saying that. especially for the price tag this was at. Now I pay a little bit extra for the blue one here compared to the other two colors, which I'm interested if they're going to release other colors. I'm surprised there is no standard gray one. But yeah, I move very smooth in this. It's, you know, I don't want to use the overused expression that it feels like butter, but it does. It really does. Like even this, like even when I was using the Retro Fires controller, the turning definitely felt tougher than this. And I'm playing with the same character and the same stats I did when I played it last week. Like I've never played Nintendo 64 as smooth as I have now, and that's absolutely incredible. And it's interesting to play with the Horipad Mini and this and just see the difference in the quality. And I might actually do that. In fact, I'll probably do it right now just so I have a nice comparison between the two. So already, this does feel, with the HORI Mini that I'm using, it feels a lot more loose. The D-pad feels very close to the A and B buttons. I can already feel my fingers rubbing together. So it does feel very, like, similar smoothness, but I definitely feel more looseness in it. I feel like I don't have, like, exact control as much. Like, I feel like the Tribute 64 isn't as loose, but it does have that little bit of, what's the word I'm looking for, like, solid to it. I don't know what's the word. It's held back slightly, which I feel like really improves it overall. Instead of just feeling all loosey-goosey, it has some, like, it holds back a little bit. Just in case you do need to do more accurate precision than, like, the GameCube-esque wavy stick of the HORI Mini. Also, Wave Race 64. If you're looking for a great cheap 64 game, definitely check this game out. It's so good. It holds up. The graphics are great. So like I said before, I did want to try a platformer out. Instead of Mario 64, let's try just a different one with Banjo-Tooie. Man, you can see I'm moving in circles like I want, very smoothly. I can jump. It's nice because I can hold the Z button with my left finger and use all those moves like that. C buttons work and everything I want. I really like the left Z trigger. I guess maybe just my fingers, but I kind of wish the left or the right R button was maybe a bit more higher up. That's only because I have to use the R a lot for, like, egg switching. Yeah, this feels really great. I can really do stuff in this game. Let's try the Horipad Mini. Let's just feel like how it feels when you move as Banjo and Kazooie. Now, definitely, you can tell with just the difference in the Z triggers. It's a lot more comfortable with the Tribute than the HORI, because this one is just a button, not so much a trigger. In terms of movement, again, it feels, you still move around in circles. Everything still works, but you have to be more harsh on what you do a little bit compared to the Tribute. Another thing I'm quickly learning for every game I play is how much I really enjoy from the Tribute. So let's try one more game out. Now, of course, we gotta try out Kirby, a game that wants you to use the D-pad. Now, this is a game that you can't use a control, so you have to use a D-pad. And while my hands are close to it, you know, obviously I wouldn't really prefer to use these kind of controllers or D-pad oriented games, but not like there's much out there, like I said, or like Pokemon Stadium, Mission Makers. But you can still do, like, you know, what you want with it. Like, if you had to play with it, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Or you don't really bump your fingers too much with it. Now, with the Horipad, you're pretty much always going to bump it unless you want to have your fingers right in the edge of the D-pad. And it's definitely, there's a big difference between the D-pad. It's a lot more of a task playing with this controller over the Tribute. So between the Tribute and the Horipad Mini, I definitely have to go with the Tribute 64 for three main things. One, the control feels a little bit tighter, which definitely helps for platformer games and racing games and pretty much any game you would want to play. The D-pad is a bit bigger, making it easier to play other games if you would want to play, like, let's say Kirby 64 or Mischief Makers. And the Z triggers feel a lot nicer than the Horipad Mini. Plus, this is a lot cheaper and a lot more available. Plus, you can get in this cool, clear blue color compared to the Horipad Mini. But I do love the yellow color for this. Big yellow controller fan. But I'm very surprised and happy how well this turned out. I had no idea how well to expect it, and it can still use things like Rumble Pack in it. I'm just not using them because, well, I want to know how the controller works more so how it plays than Rumble features, but I'm sure it works great. I don't think I'll ever go back to the Horipad Mini after playing the Tribute 64. It's a great new 64 controller, and I'm saying this in addition to the Retrofires controller. It's hard which one I would want to go back to, and I'm kind of leaning towards the Tribute 64. This feels nice, but this feels slightly better and just very smooth and very comfortable to play with. So if you ever have any interest in picking up the Retrobits Tribute 64, I highly recommend it. So if you like this video, please leave a like and comment, because I want to talk with you all, either on here or on Twitter at Janjo Brand. And if you want to see more of my Horipad stuff, check out my Patreon, because I'm posting cool stuff on there. And yeah, until then, have a nice day.